I go back to my dad's house and I bring in my badge and my picture. And he starts crying.
Hmm.
And he tells me, out of all of you guys, I never thought you were the one that would do something.
What is the thing or things that you've had to quit in order to become successful?
I certainly had to quit
Thinking it was too
the
big.
person that I was to get here.
being afraid that I was going to make mistakes. I quickly learned that the road to success is paved with failure.
So would you rather never go do laundry again or wash dishes again?
Neither one. I hate doing dishes and I hate doing laundry. Those are the only things that I mean. For the most part, I'm very, very clean and organized. But when it comes down to laundry, oh my God, I can put it in the washer, but I don't really enjoy folding it and putting it away. And doing the dishes is like I love cooking and making like delicious meals for the family, But doing the dishes is like another part.
Yeah.
Neither
Common
one. Yeah.
wash the dishes, right?
Uh-huh.
Good, good. Yeah, I agree with you on the dishes.
Yeah.
And would you rather fly as a superpower or be invisible?
Oh, well, based on my personal experiences and the dreams and my spiritual journey, I do enjoy flying a lot. I have experienced that already in my dreams. So, and by being invisible, also, it's a superpower, right? It's a superpower. So, it's a tough choice. I think I'd rather be invisible.
That's
Yeah,
a good one. You know, I felt the flying in a lot of my dreams as well. That's very
yeah,
interesting.
it's
Um,
beautiful.
it is beautiful and very empowering.
Yeah.
Would you would you rather live by the beach or the mountains?
The beach. I love the beach. I go to the beach like 3 to 4 times a week. Yeah.
Nice.
Nothing can go, wrong when you're by the beach. If you're having a bad day, go to the beach. If you're having a beautiful day, go to the beach. If it's a hot day, go to the beach.
Yeah,
It's beautiful, yeah. It's very grounding, very, very calming.
I
Mhm.
totally agree with those. Thank you so much, you guys, for tuning in for another episode of Successful Quitters, a podcast that will explore the thing or things individuals have had to quit in order to become successful, in order to become their better selves. Today, I have someone very special that I really, really like. Her name is Angelina Cortez. She is a life consciousness coach, an NLP master practitioner, a keynote speaker, and an author. Oh my goodness. Thank
Yay.
you for being here. Welcome, Angelina.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. So my name is Angelina, like she said, and I am your life consciousness coach, and I am an author of two amazing breakthrough books that I wrote. I have them right here, so we can talk about them a little bit later. And here I am. I'm all yours.
Yes, and we're going to call her Angie because everyone does
Every-
this, right?
Everybody calls me Angie.
Everybody calls you Angie. Angie, we want to get to know you a little better. So we're gonna go back to your beginning. Where was at Angie when you were 5 years old?
Well, as when I go and I get on stage and I start sharing my personal story, I always say that my childhood is kind of like a ghost town. I really don't remember a lot of my experiences as a child, but I do know what I became because of the childhood that I had. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, 5 years old, I don't have any recollection or any memories of, my childhood. I just know now that growing up, I was a kid, I have two amazing parents. They're still, alive. And I know that they did the best they could to provide for us, for me and my siblings. We grew up in Mexico. I grew up in TJ. So at that age, I think at 5 years old, I think I already had two more siblings. And So we were kind of like the richest kids on the block. We lived in the corner with a big old house, you know, just growing up in that environment. But remembering, going back, the only thing I remember is that I never felt like I fit in. I
Mm.
never felt like I was being loved, or I never felt like I was being seen by anyone in my family. So that's the 5-year-old little girl, Angie. When growing up, my parents call me Heli. Everybody in my family, the people that truly know me, my nickname is Heli. And
Mm.
so at 5 years old, I just remembering not being seen, not feeling loved, and not feeling, accepted, like you fit in the environment. Yeah.
Yeah. And at that time, I see that, you're saying that you have no recollection of it. And obviously, pain sometimes just takes everything away or hides everything so that you can continue going in order to protect you, right?
Right.
Um, you gotta, what age did you move to the US at?
When I was 13. So growing up, like I said, I went to school in Tijuana, and I went all the way to, I think it's first year of high school in TJ. And it got to the point one time where I started getting very rebellious, and I will fight and I will miss a lot of classes because I don't know, it was just something where I just felt like I wasn't being seen, or I just felt like I didn't fit in. I just felt like it was a world that didn't belong for me. Like I didn't belong in that world. Like the school system, um, you know, um, just the family environment and stuff like that. So one time, my mom didn't know this. She got called into the principal's office, and they told, well, we wanted to let you know that your daughter is being expelled from school and she cannot return next year. And not only that, but she cannot come to any school in the neighborhood because of my bad, not so much of a bad behavior, but because I had a lot of absences. I used to say, they call it me la pinteaba, I will skip classes. And I wasn't doing anything bad. Like I was just like not going into classes. And I had to think of almost like 200 absences for the year. And in the class, I remember I used to hide in the cafeteria, with my friends, and I was just not going to classes. So my mom said, okay, it's time for you guys to go to the United States. And because me and my siblings, we were all born in US, but then we were taken to Tijuana, and that's where we grew up. So my mom said, okay, it's time for you guys to start kind of, going to school over there, learn the language, a better future for you guys. So she brought us to the United States, and she threw me in high school. I remember ninth grade, knowing no English at all. It was a very traumatic change. It's a different culture, different environment, different language. Everything was so completely different. So it was very challenging. So at 13 years old, I came to the United States.
I totally understand what you went through because I arrived here when I was 14
Oh,
and I all the way into ninth grade.
ninth.
And yes, and I always think that acting for me was the thing that saved me. The art, it
Yeah,
kept me away from all the pain of leaving everything behind, starting new and not knowing the language. You're lost. So
yeah.
what do you think saved you?
So I think what saved me was, um, it was kind of like a change, So even though I was getting bullied because I had an accent, because I didn't know the language, I had no friends. I remember I was able to make one friend who was my best friend at the time. And we used to hang out all the time. But what saved me was I wanted to be different this time. I wanted to prove myself, which I think when we're constantly being bullied or rejected and we don't feel like we fit in certain environments, what we do out of, automatic response is like we want to go above and beyond to prove ourselves, right? To prove that I'm capable, to prove that I'm better than you, to prove that yes, I can have friends. That's just to prove yourself so you could be accepted in that environment, right? In the community or with your friends or with people. So I wanted to be different. I wanted to prove myself that to them, not even to me. I wanted to prove myself to them that I was worthy, that I was smart, that I could learn the language, that I could get grades. So it was kind of like a big change. So I started learning the language, and then I wanted to play soccer.
Mm.
So, but I did not know the language, so there was a language barrier right there for me to communicate with the team. So it was a little bit of challenge for me to make the team. So after I made the team, the coach, he was a Hispanic coach, and he spoke Spanish. So he kind of guided me through the process of how to get by, how to actually be focused to learning the language. And then so I played soccer for the high school years. So between playing soccer and being focused on my studies and my English, so I could prove to people that I was worthy and that I could make it, that I could be something, right? So that's what actually saved me. And then I finished high school, and that's what happened.
Wonderful. And you don't really think about it. I mean, I just 2 years ago discovered that the art saved me, right? You don't
Mm,
necessarily think about it because you're trying to get through, you just get by and you're like, okay, I'm already here,
yeah,
and thankfully now we speak the language, now we understand, and our lives have completely changed.
yeah,
But at this point, there are so many people going through the same experience, so many teenagers going from a place that to a place that is so unknown. And because we're trying to get by, our parents are trying to get by, no one really cares
yeah.
that you're going through such a difficult time. Okay, and then you went to, where did you go after high school?
So what had happened after high school was that I got pregnant, and so I had my first child. I had not even finished, I believe, my senior year, so I didn't graduate with my classmates. I didn't go to prom. I didn't have like the normal thing senior girls have. All that little prom thing and the class graduation and all the parties and all that stuff. I was already pregnant, so that's where I went. I turned into from being a student to being a mom, and
Mm.
so that was a very challenging transition. You know, not knowing how to handle that, and so I had my first child, and then while I was pregnant, I still continued to go to what is that called after the education programs that you go to complete your credits,
Like GED?
like my GED, and then so I continued to go there, and then I graduated from there, and then I tried to go to college, but at the time because I was already not. Um, I was already not with my parents. I was with my ex-husband at the time. We were together and were having our kids. So I couldn't afford to go to college, and then trying to apply to get scholarships or financial aid and all this other stuff. I couldn't get any of that. So I kind of had to take a break and a pause and say, okay, well, what am I going to do now? I was so eager that I wanted to do something. It was something that I put in me, like, I want to do something. I want to go to college. I want to study. I want to graduate. And so having the difficulties of being a young mom, not living with my parents, because once I became pregnant, my dad said, like, you're dead to me.
Oh
You know,
my God.
the traditional Mexican family, like, you're dead to me. You're not welcome in my house. And whenever you want to come, you're only going to come to see your mother. So that was a very, it was very hurtful, having to go through that. And now having to figure things out on my own once more time to kind of prove myself that, okay, so now I'm on my own with my child. And, the person that I was at the time, he was with me. We were together for about 7 years. So I tried to go back to college. I couldn't make the college because of financial reasons. And then I went to a trade school. So
Mhm.
I study culinary arts for 2 years. Then I got a job as after I graduated. I wanted to be a chef. So I got hired at a how about it called? Single Hills Resort, very beautiful resort. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm so excited. I got a job. I got my degree, because back then I was all about proving myself, remember? About proving that I could do and be something. And, so I can tell my family I am worthy. I can tell the people that continue to push me away or make fun of me, like, here, hey, I am worthy, because we unconsciously do that based on the ways we grow up. So I went to started working at the hotel, and I was like, so I think the minimum wage at that time was 6.75.
Mhm.
6.75, and so I think I was getting, no, it was 6.25, and I started getting paid 6.75 because I had a degree. And I remember being they had put me in charge of so many things, and I was working here and doing this and doing that. It was so busy. And then I see the main guy, right, the chef, and I asked him, I said, how much do you make an hour? And I think he told me he was making like not much of the difference. I think maybe like $10 different. I said, how long you been working for this company? And he said like 30 years. And I was like, wow. I said, this is not for me. I said, I don't want to spend 30 years of my life cooking here to just make a little bit of money. So I quit that job. And from there, I had another child, and I went to divorce. Then from there, I said, okay, well, what am I going to do with me now? Right. So I moved to Orange County, and then moving to Orange County, um, going through all the struggles of surviving. I used to be in survival mode. And one of the stories that I do share, just so you guys could see, how we all go through stuff because we don't know what we don't know. So when I was married with my first ex-husband, I had 2 kids with him. So transitioning from a high school student, then trying to make it to college, couldn't make it because financial reasons, then going through a trade school, which it was very challenging, being a single mom, and then doing all this other stuff. I remember one day, um, we were really broke and had 2 kids. I had no money. He had no money. He had no work, and I don't really think he was very motivated to go to work. So I remember that one day for 3 days we were actually eating cheese tacos. My son tells this story because he remembers. And for 3 days, and then we were walking down the street back home, and then I was like, this is not what marriage is supposed to be. This is not what life is all about, And obviously, I met my first ex-husband when I was very young and immature. I don't know nothing about love. I don't know nothing about life. I don't know nothing about what really marriage should be. And growing up as I'm raising my children, I'm kind of growing up with them. So I got to a level of maturity when I started learning more about life, when I recognized that the life that I was having, it wasn't a good life. He wasn't a provider. We were always struggling and stuff like that. So I decided to leave him. And when I decided to leave him, I said, okay, well, what am I gonna do now? I'm a single mom. I told him, uh, I need to get a job. So my college degree was criminal justice. And I graduated with a criminal justice degree. And I said, okay, well, I can't really I always dreamed to be a cop or a soldier. But back then when I was having my kids, I was like, it's impossible for me to go in the army or do anything like that and be away. So, and I was struggling at the time. I was like, well, being a cop is going to take a long time before, I get hired and all this stuff. So I need a job. So I was applying online, I was sending emails, and nobody was calling me. Nobody was giving me a job. Until one day I said, I make a conscious decision. And this is what I teach people when I do my talks, I said, I made a conscious decision, not knowing that I actually made a conscious decision, that I said, you know what? Today I'm going to print my resume, and I print a stack of them. And I said, and I'm not going to come home until I actually get a job. And I started walking down the streets, back and forth, like place by place. And until one time I see this apartment complex, and I say, I don't know nothing about property management, but oh well, I'm just gonna go in there. So I walk in there, and I think the manager from the property was like, she was busy, and then I just stand up right in front of her, very determined, like I wasn't going nowhere until you gave me a freaking job. So I was like, "Are you hiring?" And then she looked at me, and I looked at her, and it was just like that awkward moment where you know what you know, but you don't know what you know. You know what I mean? Like it was just that moment, like we locked eyes, and then she goes, "Hmm, I think I am." She goes like, "Have a seat." And I'm okay. And I'm like, holy cow, I don't know nothing about product management. So
Angie, I don't wanna take lightly what the part of your story that came
yeah,
before this, because I wanna know what comes after this, but I
yeah.
also want to go back a little bit and ask you.
Hmm.
You were a woman that was pregnant in high school, right? And so I'm asking you for an advice for any girl, any woman that right now is going through that. You faced rejection from your family and all the difficulties that come with still being someone that's taken care of to have to take care of a baby. So what advice would you give them?
So my best advice is that to know that if they are facing rejection already, or if they are in a place where they don't have anybody around them, that it's okay not to feel the rejection, but to feel that the best person that is ever going to help you is yourself,
Mhm.
and that you cannot give up on yourself, because I never gave up. I kept pushing. I kept looking for opportunities. I kept on looking for ways to survive, to succeed, to be the best version of myself every day. And I did not only do it for me, but I also did it for the babies, right? For my baby, because what I am, I'm going to pass that to the baby. And I want my baby to have a good life. And if you're already facing rejection, or if you feel like you're lonely, there's a lot of resources nowadays that can help you. You know, there's a lot of resources that can help you financially, that can help you with food, that, I think organizations, you know, that help people with their struggles, if you're struggling, housing, all this other stuff. But the best advice is that to never, ever give up. Because if you give up for yourself, you're gonna be giving up for your child. And you're not you're not the mom, you know, you're the mom that's gonna stand tall, and is gonna fight through every adversity. You're gonna fight through every challenge. And at the end of the day, you're going to win, because you never put your head down. Always look up. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And also always remember that if God gave you that child, is because he knows you're capable of taking care of the baby, but also the resources are always provided before you had the thing,
Yeah.
before you had the situation. You just have to step in faith to receive those resources.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go back to your interview. So the
Yeah.
lady, maybe I need a
Yeah.
someone to help me here, and
Yeah.
you jumped in.
So
But
anyway,
also, sorry to interrupt again, but I also want to highlight the fact that you're not going with the flow.
no.
Every single time, every part of your story is, I made that conscious decision. I made that conscious decision without knowing how powerful it was to take those risks.
Yeah.
To
Yeah.
say, I'm the owner of my life and I am going to give my 100%.
Absolutely. Thank you for highlighting that. But yes, so I'm gonna go a little bit faster on the story, just that has a meaning of how I'm saying sharing this. So anyway, so the lady tells me yes. Next thing you know, I'm waiting. She makes a phone call to the regional manager. The manager says yes. They put me on a phone interview right there on the spot, which I wasn't ready for. I wasn't expecting. I had no idea, nothing. But I think the fact that they saw, right, everything is energy. They saw this determination that that I wanted the job so bad. And I told them I need a job. I'm a single mom, and I will do anything. I will learn. I'm coachable, I'm responsible, reliable, committed. I just put myself out there, right? And they said, okay, you're hired. And I'm like, what? Yeah, you're hired. I'm like, oh, okay. So I started the next day. Within, I think 3 weeks, I promoted to assistant manager. Then from assistant manager, I promoted to a manager. Then from a manager, I promoted to regional manager. And long story short, I go through all these processes, and I keep promoting. Obviously, I keep on getting raises. And one time, I remember when the owner of the properties, right, the property management company, comes to me because I just asked for a raise, because the more promotion you get, the more work you get. And I'm doing the job for like 3, 4, 5 people, right? Because, I'm capable and I'm smart and I'm dedicated to my job, and I make things work. So then he comes and he goes like, Angie, let's go out for a walk. And I'm like, okay. So I was happy thinking he was going to give me a raise. And then he goes like, you know what, Angie, not a long time ago, we just give you a raise. And when is it ever going to be enough for you?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, mm. I was like, well, why does it ever have to be enough? And next thing I know, I got fired. I got fired for
No.
speaking my truth, right?
Yeah.
I got fired, and because they said, well, she keeps on asking for more money, but they would keep on giving me more work. So I go back to square one. But I wasn't afraid anymore, because I
Yeah.
have proved to me that no matter what happened, I will find a way. I found a way, being a single mom, having no money to feed my kids or to survive. And I got a job having no experience, but I was determined. I was determined that I was gonna make something out of something, and I did it. So then when I got fired, I was like, okay, well, here we go again, God, back to square one. Like, why? So then I think everything happens for a reason, and God always has a plan for us. So when things are happening for us, even though we don't understand what they're happening, I couldn't understand why I was fired if I was an excellent employee and I was doing great things for the company. But it positioned me from San Diego to Orange County. And then
Mm.
from San Diego to Orange County, I got hired with a different company. They paid me more money. I got housing, all this other stuff. And then I got remarried. I had 2 other children, and I had my miracle baby, my fourth pregnancy. It's my little girl. Her name is Julissa. And when I was pregnant with her, I actually didn't know I was pregnant. And I remember I was moving from one house to another, and all of a sudden I started feeling sick and I fainted. So they took me to the hospital and like, oh, congratulations, you're pregnant. I'm like, oh, what? So completely unexpected. So then I go start doing the pregnancy checkups and all this other stuff. And when I was 5 months, the doctors come back and tell me that she has trisomy 18, which is 50% of the babies are not compatible with life, and 50% of the babies will die after the first 6 months of birth because they are born with organ failure, Down syndrome, heart issues, all this other stuff. So it was very scary. And they all wanted me to have an abortion. And here it is where my faith is being tested again. And I said, you know what? If God is putting me through this, it's because he knows I can handle it. And if he gave me this, if he gives me this child, I said, I'm going to love this child, and it's going to be whatever God's want. So they had sent me with counselors, they with psychologists, and they were very persistent that they wanted me to have an abortion because it was a high risk, for myself and the baby and this other stuff. And I said, no. I said, no, it's okay. I had so much faith and belief and trust that God was going to make this baby healthy. I didn't even know how, but I made a conscious decision again, determination that I was not going to have an abortion. And I said, I don't know, God, what are you doing with me or for me with this experience? But I accept it with gratitude. And I just started praying. I printed the ultrasound. I told everybody. And all of a sudden, there was a chain of prayer in multiple churches for this baby because they heard the case. And when my baby, she was a preemie when I was going to be, when I was going to deliver her, I think it was like 2.5 months early. My room was so scary. I had people with suits. I have a priest. I have all kinds of stuff going on in there because nobody knew what was going to happen, right? So when my daughter was born, she was beautiful and perfect.
Mm.
And right now we're about to celebrate her quinceañera.
Wow, how amazing
She's
is that?
a smarty pants. She's a smart pin on the butt. And here she is 15 years later. But I have faith and belief and I trusted God. I said, you know what, God? If you give it to me, it's for a reason.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm the one to handle a child like that or whatnot. But I have faith. I didn't lose my faith. And then after that, I'm just kind of shopping a little bit bits of my story, kind of showing some of the struggles and, moments where I was tested, because I always felt like, why is my life so hard? Why do I always get so many challenges since I'm a kid? Why I always feel like I have to prove myself, why I'm always fighting, why I'm always in survival, why I'm always on the fight or flight kind of energy. I never knew that all of these things existed. I just knew that I was living a life of one thing after another, one thing after another. And now what? And now what, God? And why is this happening to me? And why are you doing this to me, right? And then now I get, divorced with my second ex-husband. I went to a sheriff's academy and I became a police officer. I mean, a deputy sheriff. And in the academy, it was very challenging because I had an accent. One, I'm a female. Two, so the law enforcement culture is very different. There's a lot of unwritten rules, like that you must go by. You're the boot, you're the recruit. They treat you like crap. They're screaming at you. They're just insulting. Everything that you can think about. And your peers sometimes are not the most supportive ones. They're the ones that are actually trying to make your life hell. So, but I was so convinced that no matter what, I wasn't going to quit, which
Mm.
I went through a lot of moments, a lot of times where I just want to drop the towel. I remember coming home like tired, exhausted. They beat you up, like kind of like not in a physical way, but like, exercises. You have to study a lot. You have to come home and write reports. You're getting tested. You don't. It's a whole different life for 6 months. They call it hell 6 months, right? To become a police officer or a deputy. I mean, granted, being a single mom with 4 kids, having to go through the academy, then come home and deal with kids, and then finish my work, my homeworks, study, preparing for the next day. I was in a sleep deprived. I think I was sleeping for like 2-3 hours every day for 6 months.
Yeah.
And but when things got really tough, sometimes I was really exhausted. My body couldn't give more, like on the running or on the physical. I was only looking at the end result. I said, what is my why? My kids.
Mm.
I said, and I have to make it. I said, and I would look at my kids at the end, like waiting for me every time. When I was ready to quit, I was like, I can't do this to them. I'm doing this for them, so I can't quit, right? What type of mom would I be if I let them down? So, long story short, boom, I get my badge. I graduate.
Wow.
Then after that, they take a picture of graduation and stuff. I go back to my dad's house and I bring in my badge and my picture. And he starts crying.
Mm.
And he tells me, out of all of you guys, I never thought you were the one that would do something. And I was like, wow.
How does that change your life? How does that impact your life?
Mm, It did. It did a lot because, when you're a child, you don't know better. You don't know nothing, right? All you want is your parents to love you and feel love and feel nurtured, taken care of. And especially as I think every kid, we don't know nothing about life. We don't know what adults go through, like both the mom and the dad, and we don't know what their own life has been, and we don't know what they have gone through themselves and why they are the way they are with you. All you know is that you're receiving the treatment, or you're creating ideas of like rejection, or you were like, what, they don't love me, or I don't fit in, or that, like the lack of affection. So when my dad told me that, it was kind of like, you see me now,
Mm.
like I did it, like, here, take it.
Yeah.
Mama. So I feel very proud of me. I more than anything, more than him or anything at all, I feel proud of me because I said, wow, I freaking did it. I didn't quit. Even though when I wanted to quit, I would cry at night. I would be tired. I would cry in the bathroom. I would like put myself together. Okay, I'm back, because what they teach you is command presence and mental toughness, which means like, you better not cry. Are you going to be a little girl? You're going to be sensitive? We don't got time for that here. So even when things were very challenging and tough at home, because at the time while I was in the academy, I was also dealing with the separation and the divorce with my ex-husband, which it was also a very challenging process because he was not cooperative or understanding of what I was going through, my challenges. So you know how sometimes divorces are not friendly, and when they're not friendly, then they're hell. So I was living two hells at the same time,
Yeah.
and but I was determined that no matter what, I was gonna make it, and I did. And then I went back to that, and that happened there.
Yeah. How was the transition from that into now I want to help people?
That's where I'm going. So after being graduated and going to the force, there was a couple of times where God was knocking on my door. Kind of, I don't know these parts yet. I don't understand, which I think I do. But I think God have needed to put me through all of that to endure, right? To grow mentally, emotionally, physically, and to be in a position of order, to be in a position where structure, where I can also help people, but then through helping people, I'm learning everything that goes on the other side of society, like the bad negative side, like crime, suicide, domestic violence, child abuse, drugs, car accident, like you name it. I have seen it all, right? Like dead bodies from child molestation, from domestic violence, women that have been like, extremely abused, to dealing with inmates, to learning their stories. Because I always wanted to learn, why do you do what you do, right? And most of the times they will say, I had no choice. I don't know other life. So I think the experience of me learning all of that to help me get a more uh, knowledge and wisdom of the human behavior. He knock on my door one time when I was on probation. We went to celebrate one of our officers' retirement, and because I was in still in probation or in training, you kind of do as you're told, and you have no say. So when they say, "Hey, you got to show up and you got to do this," you got to do it, right? So then I go to this thing. I have one glass of wine, and then coming home, 1 block away, I get pulled over by a CHP. He pulls me out of the car. I could, now that I know what I know, I could see everything that was done was completely done wrong. But because it's all about numbers, it's all about quotas and hooking and booking, and that's the mentality that they get. So, anyways, I get a DUI, and I
Yeah.
was still on probation, and I was like, "Oh my God, I'm gonna get fired," and I was so stressed out. I was so worried. I get called by the captain, and she gives me I did get punishment. I don't know if that's what we kind of call it, discipline, right, for it, but I didn't get fired. So that was call number one. God telling me, okay, you learned what you needed to learn. You need to get out of there now. It didn't happen. And then the second time, I get into a fight with an inmate, and getting into this fight with an inmate, I suffered knee injuries, and I had to have knee surgery. And I go back to the doctor. I say, "Hey, my knee is now well." He goes like, "Well, do you have to be medically retired?" And I said, "No. How? What do you mean? I'm too young. I'm too early in the career. There's no retirement here for me." So I said, "Put me back." And so he sends me back in. And next thing I know, I go on a foot pursuit, and then I get injured again. So I go out. Then when I retire me again, I said no. So that's 3 times God trying to get me out of the force, and I'm not listening. Right? I'm like, nope. I'm putting resistance to what God's plan is, right? Because we don't know how God works, but God really works in mysterious ways. And so then I get the final call where something happened at work where I got in trouble. My training officer lied, and I couldn't prove that he didn't lie. So because I'm in training, I had to resign from the force. And me resigning, I was very angry. I was very angry at God. I was very angry at everything and at everybody. And I was that one night that I had the true awakening was when I remember I was crying. I was in a very dark place. I was very depressed. I was suffering from anxieties. I never knew what anxieties were. And I was so mad at God. I was like, why, God? Why are you doing this to me? I said, I'm a good mother. I'm a good person. I'm a good woman. I like to help people. Look, why? So, because I couldn't understand why every time I accomplished something, something bad needed to happen, or I'm being redirected, right? But I didn't know that at the time because I couldn't see, I didn't know that sometimes God is redirecting you, things are shifting and happening for your greatest good. But at that time, I didn't know that. All I knew is that something was being stripped away from me, something that I worked so hard for, and now I'm on the floor. I'm like I hit rock bottom. So I remember being in the bathroom and I was doing this. I was having a panic attack. A panic attack. I never knew what that was, and I couldn't breathe. And but something higher than myself woke me up and allowed me to see me down there, sitting down on the floor, and it told me, "Get up. That's not you." And I got up and I said, "You know what, God? Whatever it is that you want me to do, you need to tell me, but you need to tell me now." Because I was tired. I was really tired to the point where I even contemplated I was suicidal. I say this story. I remember I was in my car and I was ready to pull the trigger with my own gun. But something higher than myself told me not to do it. And then so I went to sleep. And on my dream, God comes to my dream. And then he starts yelling back at me. This is what you're gonna do, pain into purpose. Look, and he showed me my whole life, everything that I have gone through, all my adversity, my challenges, my traumas, my hurt, my pain, everything. He showed me my whole life. And he said, like, look how much you have overcome. I have always been there for you. And this is what I want you to do. Mujer Divina, Pain into Purpose, you're going to help people. Da, da, da. And I'm like, okay, God. And I'm writing notes, and I'm writing notes. And I was like, okay, God. And so when I woke up, I was like, whoa, have you ever had a dream that feels like it's like you lived a dream? Like you wake up and you're like, whoa, what that
No,
feels so
I,
real.
I think it's different for everybody, but I have had what you had while I was jogging. Same,
Mm.
like the voice was as if someone was talking to me and giving me directions. This is what you're gonna do. And I went, what? And then he said the next thing, and I'm like, no, seriously? You know,
Yeah.
clear.
Yeah.
Right. And I just want to clarify something for a lot of people that are going through difficulties is that I always thought that it was the devil getting in the way because you do something so good after working so hard, you're supposed to get a reward from God,
Yeah.
but instead you feel like you're being punished. And what happens is that life is like a video game. And so, if you don't go through this level, if you don't get the obstacles from this level, you don't get anywhere. You don't get to a next level. So, God wants so much for you that He has to toughen you up. So, it's not always the devil, putting things in your way, but it's God, it's His way of saying, hey, I trust you. I have a bigger purpose, I have a bigger plan. I am seeing your life from an eagle's eye perspective. I see that there's more for you. So at
Mm.
those points where you're like, I want to kill myself, I don't know what to do, I want to give up, those are the times when you need to push on the gas and continue moving forward because those are the ones that make the difference for you to be able to reach that intentional place where you're going to be so blessed at,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. Absolutely. 100%, amiga. It's these are the moments where when we're so ready to give up. I know right now things are really tough and people are struggling, mentally, emotionally, financially,
Yeah.
everything is just like it's hard. I get it, but we just got to keep pushing. So when that happened to me, I woke up and the notes that God gave me were laying on my chest. And I
Mm.
said, okay. So at that time, I was doing financial services. I was doing life insurances. I was an agent and I was successful on it. But I was like, all right, God, I'm going to leave everything cold turkey. I left everything. to follow what he asked, ordered me to do.
Wow.
And this is where I'm at. I started doing live events for both men and women, transformational events where it's called Ascend, Elevate Your Impact. It's called Ascend, from pain into purpose, to give people the just to open that little window, that little, you know, a place where people can come and be like, there's more to life than what we're experiencing. What has been happening for us, I don't say to us anymore, because what I learned is that anything that happened to me, it didn't happen to me, it happened for me. So I had a spiritual awakening. And since I started my spiritual awakening, since that night, they call it the dark night of the soul, I went inward, and I have been getting a lot of downloads and spiritual awakenings and breakthroughs about my identities, the identities that I had built based on my trauma, based on my adversities, based on my life experiences, based on my upbringing, based on my parents, based on my motherhood, and based on my previous relationships. We build identities. It's like a block, right? Every block has a layer of something that we went through, and that's what makes who we are. But that's not who we're meant to be. And that's what we're coming to teach you. What is your blueprint? What is your modus of operation? What system are you operating from? Abandonment issues, self-sabotage, lack of self-worth, lack of self-validation, trauma. What traumas in your life caused you to be who you are now? Like, you had trust issues, you live in fear and scarcity mindset, broken. What is it that makes who you are? And when you are able to identify all the things that you have gone through, you will understand that is part of your journey to build a stronger version and better version of yourself, but not to break you. So now that I know what I know, going through my own spiritual awakenings, going inward, going back to my inner child, my 5-year-old girl, like the 7-year-old girl, the 10-year-old girl, the 13-year-old girl, I go back and I hug her and I give her love and I give her compassion and I said, I love you. It's okay, you're safe now. And then I go back now to understand, okay, why was my dad the way he was with me?
Mhm.
Well, I understand a lot of things now because my dad, he grew up on the streets. He was abandoned by his own parents. He says he has told us that he does not wish his childhood even to his worst enemy. He used
Yeah.
to eat from trash cans. So he was raised with no love. So how can he give love? How can he be affectionate? How can he express, I love you? He can't because he never received it. And my mom, her mother died when she was 8 years old.
Mhm.
So she never knew what it was up to 8 years old. And she had to take care of her siblings, like I think 7 siblings.
Yeah.
Like, so how do you know how to be an affectionate mother, a loving mother?
Yeah.
Right? So now I feel sympathy and compassion for my parents. I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't, wouldn't want to live the life they live. So now it makes me feel like the inner child that was broken and hurt because of the lack of love I didn't receive from my parents. I understand where it comes from. So
Yeah.
I forgave them, and I make now I'm more compassionate to them. I'm more loving to them. I have a good relationship with them, and I try to even now help my mom, help her and my dad heal their inner child.
Yeah. We're so used to hearing about coaches,
Yeah.
but we don't necessarily understand the kind of impact everything you're talking about has in our lives. For
Mm.
example, let's say that I am a business owner, right? And I'm struggling with my business and I'm working hard, but the money's coming in and as it comes in, it just leaves. Um,
Yeah.
what kind of impact? How can you help someone that's struggling financially?
So we have to go back to the roots. What is your operating system with money? Right? Because everything it's energy. And I didn't know this, but I had the same issue. I was like, I work so hard. I'm doing all these great things. I had jobs that pay me good money, my coaching business and all this other stuff. And I was like, okay, what is my relationship with money? We have to go back to understand the psychology of what is your relationship with it and how do you operate it and what is your energy with money. Are you in survival? Are you in lack? Because money is just an energy. And why are you sabotaging the abundance and the money to come into you through your business? In my book, there's a chapter in here that talks about your relationship and your failure operating system with money. And you have to understand, okay, how did you grow up with your finances, right? If you're a business owner and no matter what you do, how many different accounts you get, the clients somehow or somewhere are fading away. And you can hold on to good accounts that are going to give you sustainable income. Why? What is it? What is your belief? Do you truly believe that your business is going to make millions? Do you truly believe that your business is going to be a successful business? Or are you afraid to be a millionaire? Are you afraid of what people are going to say because you're making money? How are you treating your business? Are you like, well, I don't want to spend this much money on X, Y, and Z because I don't have enough money to invest on my business right now. And so now we got to remember that the universe gives us back what we put out. What is your frequency? What is your frequency, right? I always tell people, tap in your heart. If you were to tap in your heart right now, you can do it. You can tap in your heart right now. And if I said, what is your relationship with money? What is the first thing that comes to your mind? How does your body feel, right? What is the energy, vibration that your body feel when you ask yourself, what is my relationship with money? You will discover that that's the problem.
Yeah, and a lot of times we don't really take the time, but we're just rushing through life, right? But
Mhm.
we don't take the time to acknowledge the fact that we were told a lot of things
Yeah.
when we were younger.
Hmm.
We saw our parents, right? Work, maybe be successful, but always we heard it's so hard. I have to work so hard. And that stays wired within us, right? That's
Absolutely. Absolutely. And a perfect, I'm the perfect evidence for that. That I'm the perfect evidence for that because I always believed after going back to my story from high school, right after that, I said, I'm always going to be the hardest worker. I'm going to work really hard to make money. But that is conditioning. I call that is mental conditioning to believe that you have to be the hardest worker or to work really hard to make money. And it's actually not. Now I believe that no matter what I do, money comes to me, money flows to me. And money is like everywhere. And guess what? Money comes. And guess what? Effortless. I don't really have to work hard for money because I don't believe anymore. But I had to work through that. Let me tell you, it's not easy because we're so conditioned in our mind to believe our belief system, right? But we can only go as far as our limitations. And if our mindset is limited based on the mental and emotional conditioning of our upbringing, how far can you go? You
yeah.
cannot, because your environment, right, is assisting in your mindset. It's like what is your environment? Your parents, your siblings, your coworkers, your friends, your family. What are they saying about money? Are they always nagging and complaining about money? Are they always broke? So you know what I'm saying? So we have to recondition ourselves. Like, look, I'm gonna put this here. It's in chapter 8, right here in my book. It says breaking money blocks, programming your FOS for abundance. So we have to go back to really understand, why do we feel like that about money? Why can you feel that you're worthy of someone coming to you and say, hey, I want to invest in your business. Hey, I don't know what you do, but I want to do business with you. Can I partner up with you? Can I make your business grow? Can I just hire you for whatever? I don't know what you do, but I just want to hire you. You know how many times I get that?
Yeah.
Because it's the vibration, it's the energy. Likes attracts likes. So people that are really struggling with finances right now in their business, we have to really sit down and layer out what is the true issue about the money. It's not because you can afford it. It's because you can afford it. But where does that belief come from?
Yeah.
You know, how many times did your parents told you, oh, no, honey, or no, we can afford it right now? Or no, we don't have enough. Or tomorrow. maybe next paycheck,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Or do you don't understand how hard I have to work for certain things? So then that internal thing of like, oh, I'm afraid to ask because they're probably going to tell me they don't have it. Or
Yeah.
you're afraid to charge people what your business is worth because you think they don't have the money,
Yeah.
or you don't think they're going to pay you that much. When I first started, I used to give everything for free. And I'll be like, oh, well, if you want to pay me something, it's okay. If you don't have it, it's okay. I understand. And I would give and give and give and give until one day I was told, Angie, stop. What? Well, what do you mean what? I said, you need to start making money, because I had a job at the time, right? So it's like, you have to start making money for it. I'm like, well, people are really broke and like they don't have money. The people that are meant to be for you, your clients that are meant to be for you, will come when you start believing that your business is worth it, that you are worth it, that what you have to offer, they need and they want it. That's
Yes.
when
Yeah.
your abundance in your business is going to change, because
Abs-
there's tons of business. There's tons of people working so hard to make their business grow. But it's not about working hard. It's about moving the energy to flow for you to get what you want to grow your business. From
Mhm.
connections, right? What is your next connection that might take you to the next level? They say if you hang out with 5 broke people, you will be the sixth. If you hang out with 6 millionaire people, you will be the sixth. Either way, you're standing right here. You got to choose. You have to do an inventory. What is around your business? What are the things that are bringing your business down? And start doing an assessment, an evaluation. What is my operating system in my business? What are my beliefs in my business? You know,
Yeah.
uh, when I sit down with clients, we go over everything, and I will say 85 to 90% comes down to they don't believe in themselves.
Mm.
They don't believe that their business can be successful, and they're so afraid of rejection.
Yes.
So abundance is not just money. It's not just about making the quotas or making the numbers, or it's just about making the financial goals that you have for the month or for the year. Abundance is like being abundant, right? Attracting the clients, your business going to the next level, like having quality products, having quality services. That's abundance. And
Yeah.
people are gonna pay for what you offer, but people need to want it, and you have to be like a magnet. But if your internal system, it's like shut it down because you don't believe in yourself, you have fear, your fear of rejection, your fear to pick up the phone and make up a sale. Where does that come from?
Yeah.
Most of
Yeah.
the time, most of the business, like the business growth, is cold calling, is personal branding. And if nobody knows about you, how are you going to make your business grow? If your business doesn't grow, you don't make money,
Yeah.
right?
So this money is always a thing, right? We're people, that's one of our priorities. The other priority, and something that I see very often right now, is a lot of people, a lot of women and men
Mhm.
that are going, and this has definitely happened to me plenty of times, but you go into these toxic relationships and you're stuck and you think this is all about love and you cannot leave. It's even worse when you have kids, because then you have an extra excuse to add to this thing. But so I want to know, how is it if people are afraid to reach out to someone like yourself? I want to kind of like have you walk us through what it's like to work with a coach like yourself, to work with Angie. Let's say that I am a woman that's stuck in a relationship, can't move forward, don't believe in coaches. I've never done this. I'm lost. I feel like I have no solution here. What can we do?
Well, the first step is you want to have the change, because nothing will work. It doesn't matter if it's a coach, a pastor, a friend, a parent, a family member. Sometimes we have those friends that we're like, we keep on telling them and telling them and telling them, like, don't do this. change or leave the person, and they're right there, not listening, right? And the thing is that the reason why, like the person, first of all, like any woman that is out there listening to me right now, and I work with both men and women, and I also, I am going to do it for both, because initially when I started my coaching, it was just meant for women. But I was creating a lot of content that I used to get a lot of messages from men telling me, Angie, why don't you do this for men too? Men need this a lot. I got invited to Univision Radio Studio, and the topic was domestic violence, how to get out of that, right? And how to seek for help. Do you can you believe that the majority of the calls were men
Yeah.
being abused from women? Yeah.
Yeah.
So this message is for both, right? Like wanting to get out of a toxic relationship or an abusive relationship, or just wanting to do the change, and how to start working with a coach or working with me, how it would look like. It would look like having a conversation. Let's just talk over your life. Let's just talk over of like, tell me, talk to me. What has happened to you? Like, what have you gone through? And we're gonna go back to the very first day that you have any recollection of, because I'm an NLP practitioner. I'm a life consciousness coach, and I work with a lot of awareness. I'm able to hear, feel, and see things that people can't even tell me. Like I can see, I can feel, I can tell, right? It's a gift that I have. So having a conversation, I have an assessment where I ask you questions just so I can get some kind of a starting points of like where you're at right now. Are you depressed? Are you anxiety? Are you being abused? What are the changes that you want to do in your life? But then we will have to go back to understand timeline therapy, like understanding like where did all this started? What makes your blueprint? Like who? And I will tell you, look, this is the reason why you are who you are. And this is the reason why you accept abuse. And this is the reason why you're comfortable being uncomfortable. And this is the reason why you have money blocks. And this is the reason why, you can get the fit body that you want. Because I work with people also that are struggling with their fitness and their health. I have a 90-day coaching program for fitness, because I don't work just like a personal trainer. I'm very much into fitness, but I work with you understanding why, the psychology of it. Why are you not losing weight? Why are you overeating? Is it out of comfort? Is it depression? Is it because you're trying to hide your body? Is it because you don't feel pretty enough? What is it? Or handsome enough, right? So there's all kinds of reasons. I go work with you on a one-on-one, and we'll do one-on-one sessions, an hour to an hour and a half, where we just talk. The first sessions we'll talk. I get all your information. I get some sort of idea of who you are, what you have gone through, and then I make my own session structured to your needs. As far as, okay, I see this person is struggling with abandonment issues. I see this person is struggling with self-care and self-love, and that's why it's tolerating the abuse, or that's why it continues to accept toxic and abusive relationships, and it's going through relationship to relationship and hasn't been able to find the person that treats them with care, with love, and have a healthy relationship overall. So we go back to understanding why. And then, or you might have their biggest problem might be a traumatic event that you went with in your life. Have people that have gone through sexual abuse when they were kids. I have people that are working that are struggling with suicidal thoughts, that they're in a very dark place. I work with people that have PTSD, also like military people and law enforcement, because I understand everything we face. So it depends. So I'll go on a one-on-one. I'll be your ear. I will hear you out, and based on everything you tell me, everything you share with me, I create a safe container where like everything you share with me, you're safe to share, because I'm here to help you, to guide you from the darkness to the light, from broken to healing, and to ascend to higher levels of consciousness, to create, to you to understand that you're the creator of your life, and that you're able to create the life you want, the reality you want. But we have to first want to do that and be able to be willing to do the work. I have people too that hire me. I'm working with a girl right now that they pay the full program, but they don't
Commit.
they don't commit to it because they're so comfortable being uncomfortable, and removing the identities that you have built out of your trauma creates discomfort because you no longer know who you are anymore. So you have to, I said, you have to, you know how I said the mental conditioning, right? That we have to remove, we have to identify, remove, and reprogram so
Yeah.
you can become who you want to be. Yeah,
And through this, you're definitely expanding everyone's consciousness, which is
absolutely.
what you do, right? We're
Yes,
going from the darkness, from not knowing who we are, not remembering who we were because we want to say, no, I wasn't that. Everything was perfect. And then when we start digging to see what really hurt us, then we start really recognizing who we have become from that pain. And now, like you said, we have to reprogram everything. And what I love about suggesting to reach out to Angie, and the reason why I say do so is because Angie has seen it all. There's nothing you can tell her that she'd be like, oh my goodness, look at her life, look at his life, right? She's been in the law enforcement, she's had a tough life as a woman with kids and this and that. So, whenever you have a coach and when you have a good one, they're not there to criticize you, they're there to support you and understand where you're coming from and help you discover a better you. Angie, so you have a program, right? Tell us a little bit about your program.
so I have a, 3-session package right now that I'm offering with the first complimentary call free. It's because on the first session, it's all about getting to know you, getting to know each other, right? See if we're a good fit. I'm very I don't like to force anything, and I like things to flow very organically in the energy of love, in the energy of healing, and the energy of like, I'm here for you. And if we both connect at that level and we feel that we're a good fit, then we can move on to structure our sessions. And so I do it's a 4 package session. And so I have that. Or because some people can commit to the whole 60 or 90-day program. So if you can commit to a 60 or 90-day program, then we'll do structure sessions, which I think it's what I'm leaning more towards right now, because I have a lot of clients right now, and I think it works for a lot of people better. But the 60-day, I have a 60-day coaching program, which is a 3-month. We'll meet a couple of times, a month, and then we'll do group coaching sessions. We'll do homeworks, we'll do assignments and stuff like that based on the type of the things and what we're working on. Depending on the areas that we're working on, you will have assignments during the week for self-reflection. We'll practice meditations, we'll practice breath work. I also teach you how to connect with yourself, how to ground yourself and stuff like that. So those are the type of programs that I have, either individual sessions or a whole 60-day 90 program. Mhm.
Perfect. And then tell us just a little bit about your 2 books and where can they find those, please?
Yeah. So I have Breaking Free from Your Federal Operating System, Breaking Free from Your FOS. This is a concept that I came with because understanding the system, right? Coming from law enforcement background, I understand that I have been programmed to operate from the system of the law and the system of the government. And I understand now that everything is a matrix now and everything is systematic. So computers have a system, cars have a system, dealerships, schools, churches, everything has a system. There's absolutely nothing that has no system. So guess what? We as a human beings, we also have a system. And if we can understand what our system is made of, we can break the system and recreate a new one. Because, it's kind of like if you have a computer. If your computer is crashing, right? What do you have to do? You just have to update the software and put in a new system so it can be faster, up to speed with the new things coming out. So guess what? So we're going to delete your old patterns. We're going to delete your limiting beliefs. We're going to identify what are the things that are sabotaging your life success and your success in life and business and money and in relationships. So when you identify what is your FOS, we can break it and recreate a new system. System of operation, and it has 13 chapters. It's a very quick read. It's just to kind of for some people that really don't know nothing about self-development, about mindset, about consciousness, about being able to reprogram yourself to be a different version than you. So this book is for you. We can find it on Amazon, and like I said, it has 13 chapters. It says breaking money blocks, reprogramming your FOS for abundance, and let me see, breaking free from chains of the past and rewiring the subconscious and liberating yourself. So breaking free from the subconscious patterns and beliefs, right? And the power of conscious awareness. I always talk about conscious decisions, conscious decisions. When you make the conscious decision of doing something, you will make it happen no matter what. So, yeah. And then I have this one. It's called Ascend Within. It's a 30-day shadow work journey. It's called From Pain into Purpose. And what this book does is for someone that, let's say, they want to start working on themselves, but they don't feel confident enough or vulnerable enough to be able to open up to somebody and just kind of like talk their life out, because I know that could be very challenging for some people. And
Mhm.
totally understand that. But this is a safe place to start doing your shadow work. Like you're like, you know what? I'm tired, sick and tired of suffering. I want to know, I just want to start working on myself. But I can't afford a coach, or I don't want to talk to anybody about it yet. This is the book.
I
Um,
love.
it's for 30 days. So, which means you have to be committed for 30 days. Commitment, conscious decision to be committed to work on yourself. So, you have to, 30 days. So, day one, it starts with a lesson, right? And every book starts with, I mean, every day starts with a lesson, kind of gives you like a little bit of like, okay, day one, this is what I'm going to talk to you about. And this one talks about acknowledging your pain. How much do we go through life pushing through, surviving, fighting day after day, but we don't acknowledge our pain, right? We suppress, and that's what causes the illness and the sickness in our mind and in our body, right? So the first step to freedom is acknowledging your pain. And then it talks to you about what that is, and then it gives you questions to reflect on it on your
Mm.
personal life, so you can write things about and just kind of bring in awareness of your pain. Why do you have pain, right? And then day two, understanding your triggers. Wow. So
Mm. That's
no,
powerful.
it was powerful because we go on a day to day, and then we don't know all of a sudden why we're in a bad mood, or why all of a sudden we're like angry or sad or depressed. But it happens that somehow, somewhere, somebody said something that you didn't think about, but your subconscious mind heard it, and it triggered you because you felt, it took you back to a memory of your past where you had pain, and now you're mad or you're angry, you're sad. So what are your triggers and how to work through them? And here
Mm.
then you talks about it, and then you got write about it. So
I love
yeah, these
it.
two books. And when you become my when I work with you as a coach, you get my two books, and then we'll definitely work on this one, and we'll go over this book to help you kind of navigate through it, so you can have a more understanding of how to start working on yourself, how to start identifying the things that have hurt you, how to identify the things that make who you are, and remove the things that don't serve us anymore, past relationships, past traumas, past emotions, right? We have to stop living in the past so we can actually move and create a new future with a new system, the system of joy, the system of happiness, the system of money, abundance, right? Money and abundance and good energy. So, yeah.
Yeah. Angie, I have so many questions left behind because I have so much knowledge that I know you can give us.
Yeah.
And we're running out of time. However, I'm thinking first we got to make one in Spanish, right? Because
Sí,
we
yes.
but besides that, let me ask you a last question. What is
Yeah.
one thing or a few things that you've had to quit to become this you?
Wow. Very powerful. And I get the chills because I'm still connected. I'm so connected with that. I had to leave my bad habits. I
Mm.
had to leave people. I had to leave my past relationship. I had to leave a part of the version of who I was, right? Because I know I want to get to my next level. I know I want to continue to grow spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and become the best version of myself. But when I do an inventory of my life, I see people, right? People that I love, people that I care about. And I said, you're not in alignment of where I'm going. You're taking me down, you're putting me down. Your energy is not in alignment with mine anymore. So I have to cut ties. And that was
Mm,
really hard. But I have made the conscious decision that I have to get to the higher version of myself. And everything I do is for my greatest good. And if your energy in my life is not serving that, then I can't have it. And that's
mm,
the hardest part because there's a lot of people in our life, old friends with older relationships, right? Boyfriends or girlfriends or situationships or whatever that is. They have to
mm,
go. Spending habits. I had to do inventory on my outings. The people that I was in the environments with, as far as social events, I realized that a lot of those social events and networking events, because I was going to a lot of network events to grow my business, to put myself out there and stuff like that. But I realized that that environment is not the environment that I need to where I'm going with my business and myself because there's a lot of drinking, there's a lot of people that are not there for the same reasons, they're there for other reasons. So therefore, it's not in alignment. So even though it's fun, even though I met incredible people, I had to completely cut ties with that because it's not in alignment with my spiritual growth. Like I stopped drinking, so I no longer drink. And when I made that the conscious decision, I had a spiritual awakening with my relationship with alcohol. And
mm,
that was a hard one because I'm not a heavy drinker or anything like that, but I love the social life, have a drink here and there. You know, it's part of who I've been. It's been part of my family too. Every time we have a gathering, everybody's drinking. Everything is a party, everybody's drinking, right? So it's part of our
sure.
yeah. So I had a spiritual awakening with that. It kind of showed me what my relationship was with that. And it showed me how much control the alcohol had over my family. Going back
Mm,
to past lives, my grandparents, my father, my brother, my family, everybody drinks. And so I was like, whoa, it was like showing to me, like God come to me again to show me, right? So I have to cut alcohol. And now that I cut alcohol, well, guess what comes with that? There's friends and people that I thought were part of my life in the sense of growing person at a personal level and a business level, but they're nowhere to be found. Because
yeah.
every time they call me or hey Angie, let's go, vamos a hacer esto, let's go
You're
here.
gonna drink.
I don't drink, or they give me a hard time because I'm not drinking and stuff like that. And so that means that they were not really true friends, or they weren't really the people. They served their purpose in my life in the time that they were there. So I
Mm,
had to quit that. And I had to quit a lot of other things, but I think being out social for now, I'm cutting that as well because I'm going more back inward of seeking the spiritual growth, and
mm,
that you can only find it within yourself. You
yeah,
can't find it with anybody else, and that is hard too.
I
I'm
love
going to
that.
spiritual retreat this weekend for 3 days, and I'm super excited. So there's a lot of things that I had to quit and change in my life. My life, I can see it; it continues to change.
Yeah. Yeah. And there will always, as we were saying yesterday on our conversation, there will always be things that we have to quit in order to get to our next level. And just a quick tip for those of you that need to continue networking,
Yeah.
I quit drinking about a year and a half ago as well
Nice.
for
Yeah.
the same reasons and run into the same situations because my culture, like yours, we have the same culture. It's all about drinking, right? So
Mhm.
now, instead of dealing with people telling me, why are you not drinking? I just get mocktails
Yeah.
and don't share with anybody. I'm like drinking and drinking my mocktail, and they're like, oh, you're not getting drunk. I know, I'm pacing it. you know,
Yeah.
but it is definitely a thing where you start to see how people go away. When you grow, we're not having the same necessities, the same ideas, the same anything, and everyone starts going away, but you're also attracting people that are with your
People.
same. energy.
We're attract now we're attract now I'm finding that I'm attracting quality people. I'm attracting people that are in alignment with my belief system now, with my growth, right? And like I said, it's a sad thing, but it is, the more you grow, the more you ascend to higher levels of consciousness, the more healing you do, you will realize how broken society is, how broken people are, and how much need they are of love and support and healing, but they don't do it because it's so taboo. Like, oh, like for guys, they go like, oh, you're weak. You're not a man if you don't cry. Like I was just talking a conversation yesterday with one of my friends, military guy, whatever, and he's telling me, yeah, I never cry. I don't know about those people that cry. I can never. I was like, well, what do you do with your emotions? Well, I don't know. Like, what emotions? And I'm like, exactly. I said, we're humans. We have emotions, right? So that is the hardest part, to be able to, like when you quit your old patterns, my old patterns and behaviors. That is a life changer. And so therefore your whole environment changes, your whole life changes. I have to leave my ex-boyfriend. I loved him dearly. He knows it. But I can't, it's like we're not in alignment in certain things. Some of my good friends, we're not in alignment anymore. They're like, hey, let's go out here. I have this singles party and we're gonna go. I'm like, I'm not sorry, I'm not looking, or I don't want this, or I don't want to be in that environment. So I'm more protective over my energy, and I'm more mindful of where I place my energy at, because, when you do that, then it's like the things that I used to have, they no longer align with me, or they no longer want to hang out with me, or they no longer want to be my friends, I don't know. But it's okay. The right people will come to your life when you start doing the changes that you need to do for your personal growth and your own healing.
Most definitely. I love it. I love it. And one last thing is I just want to thank Mr. Tempo, because we met because of his events. They have a monthly, bi-weekly event for entrepreneurs. And I have been going since the first one, and it's definitely changed my life for the better, because I have met people like Angie that are at that level of consciousness, and we can continue grow our businesses together. So I just wanted to say gracias.
Gracias.
Thank you so much, Angie. It's been a pleasure having you here. If we have to make the time to do this in Spanish.
I would love to. So the first event that I did for women is so funny, right? Because talking about how God talks to me, I was doing something, and then all of a sudden the little whisper came and it said, Mujer Divina. And I'm like, what? It was like, Mujer Divina. And I'm like, oh my God, what does this mean now, right? So he gave me another assignment to build a Mujer Divina movement. It's, a platform for woman, right? And the first one, I did it in Spanish. Never
Oh,
done a full women's event. And the first one I did was in Spanish, and it was very successful. I think I had like about 100 people there, 100 women in there. It was
yeah,
beautiful.
we need to. We're bilingual. We might as well.
Yeah, in a lot of our culture, our Latinas, we don't come from a place of healing. We don't come from a place of loving support, and we don't know what it is like to heal. We don't understand that there is things, there is books, there is systems, there is coaches, there's like spiritual growth. There's all kinds of things that can help us heal and become a better mom, a better woman, a better friend, a better daughter, a better wife, overall a conscious woman, a mujer divina. And so that the Latina, unfortunately, our Latinas need a lot of our support. For the ones I'm calling out, all the ones that already done the work and are self-aware and awakened, and that there's more than the life that we're experiencing. Let's bring a community together and kind of help our people, our girls, do the healing work so they can have a better quality life. Be a better woman.
So that we can all be fulfilled Latinas.
Yes, ma'am.
Great time. And thank you guys for tuning in for another episode of Successful Quitters, the podcast. My name is Sara Nunez Bee, and I will see you guys on the next one.
Thank you.
Absolutely.